Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas, and today's surfboard review is on the Little Wing by Smith Shapes. Now I've got two custom boards. They're the exact same dimensions. They're both 5'6" by 19 by 2 5/16, and the volume's coming in at 25.7. I've got one in EPS and one in PU poly, and I'm 5'9" and 165 pounds. This is gonna be fun. Sit back, get your favorite drink, enjoy the show. So we're stoked to get some of the Smith boards on the show for review as per our community asking for it, and I thought what better place to start than with a small wave performance board like the Little Wing. What I like about boards like this, if you follow the show, is it has a performance board outline, but it's got a lot less rocker, and you can see it has that low entry rocker and relatively relaxed, and it's got a wider nose and a wider tail compared to a typical high performance shortboard. Now this board was designed for 2 to 4 foot waves, and I find myself here in Southern California riding those wave sizes 95% of the time. The other thing I'm thinking about for our community is we all want good paddle, quick get up and go, and then we want the board to be responsive and be able to get through flat sections real good. So when I read the description on the Little Wing, and I thought this is a great place to start for us. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the outline. I mentioned that it has the small wave performance outline, and what I like is even though it's a bit wider in the nose, I still felt like the nose was relatively free from catching up here in my turns, even when the wave got steep and nice and hollow. Now, as I go back in the outline, I notice that it's relatively straight. I would say the wide point's shoved a little bit forward from center, and it's got tons of foam up in here, so it's a great paddler. Now, with that straighter outline, we know that the board's gonna get down the line and be fast, and sometimes if it's too straight, that's the only thing it does well, and it can kind of be hard to get it in the pocket and surf it a little bit more vertical. But with the Little Wing, it kind of has some curve right in here, and then it has the wing. It breaks the water off the rail line and gives us a little bit more or a little bit less surface area so I can have more control and get this board more vertical. But because of that extra curve, I kind of felt like I had the best of both getting down the line fast with the straighter outline through here, and then moving back with that curve, I could get up in the pocket and start to pivot good too. Now I want to talk a little bit about the rail and the foam distribution. So when I put the rail in my hand, it's soft and forgiving, relatively tapered, so it's going to be very nice and responsive and forgiving at the same time. Now, I would say the deck's a little bit domed, but it's not super obvious. Now, I want to talk a little bit about how stable the board was. And this isn't something I usually talk about, but because there's so much foam forward, I really felt like it gave me a generous sweet spot. Now, I'm speaking for myself here, but I believe I'm also speaking to the community. When I stand up, I don't always hit the sweet spot every time. So sometimes my back foot, I'm feeling around, trying to get it in the right spot in the midst of surfing. And then sometimes I surf and my front foot's a little bit too far back. It's pretty rare that my foot's too far forward, but it does happen. All I'm saying is the stability in the board and its ability to get me through flat sections or keep its speed up even though my feet aren't in the sweet spot, I found myself surfing good most of the time, feeling like the board wasn't bogging and it was really smooth rail to rail, so the board had good flow. Now, for the bulk of the review, I was wearing booties, and when you put booties on the board, you're relatively stuck in trying to move your feet around can be difficult, and that's why I was really noticing how forgiving the board was, not only on the rail, but in the foam distribution. Now I want to talk about the bottom contours a little bit. Now it's supposed to have some reverse V up in here in the nose, but it's subtle, so much so that I can't really see it with a straight edge, but I thought we'd focus a little bit more on the aggressive single concave in the belly. You can see it's got quite a bit, and that's just creating good lift and keeping this board moving with some speed, not only on the wave face, but in flat spots, and I felt it. And then as I come back in here, it's coming into a double, and I would say right in front of the fins here it's starting to get pretty aggressive, and it carries that double all the way through the the tail. And one of the things I noticed about the board is when I talk about stability, it's not tight and it's not too loose. There's something about the way the water's flowing here, even though the tail's a little bit wider, it's rolling over on rail real nice, and I don't feel like there's a lot of extra movement in my bottom turns, no two-stage bottom turns to go from rail to rail. So the water flow coming through the back here felt great, and I felt like the board carries a lot of speed. Now I want to talk about the fins I chose. I started with a pivot fin. Now this is a prototype, something I've been working on. It's called the Momentum Series, where it has a large base for a lot of drive and then medium fin depth, keeping the board nice and loose. And it has a bit of a wider tip. And what I was looking for with the pivot fin is, since the board doesn't carry a lot of rocker and it has a wider tail block, I want to get this board in the pocket real quick. So that's why I started with the pivot fin, and these felt great. And the wider tip actually gave me the hold, so as I'm pushing through my turns, I still felt like I was getting that drive. And then from there, I went right into the rake template. Now, similar large base, medium fin depth with quite a bit more rake, and now I'm looking for a little bit more drive. And what I liked about the Little Wing, as I started fin testing, I could definitely feel the benefits to each fin template. So I was getting more drive, gaining speed through turns with the raked fin compared to the pivot fin. So then I went to Jordy's fin, and I always want to feel what the manufacturer wants me to feel with the design, and I know Jordy's doing a lot of testing with his own fin. Now, this is a large fin because I want to maximize drive from that large base, and it has a good amount of rake with that refined tip. And I felt like one right comes to mind where I was able to do a nice down carve in a real steep section, come right off that into a bottom turn, and kind of like have that last snap. And like I said, the Little Wing carries excellent flow and speed and no unnecessary pumps in two-stage bottom turns. And I really like that, not only with Jordy's fin, but with the Momentum Series rake template. So far, all the fins that I put in the board felt great. And then I went to, how would it go in a Twin Plus trailer? So I put in Aquila Ipus twins with this little trailer fin that is a prototype that I'm working on, and this felt great too. So across the board, this Little Wing is super versatile. My last fin template was the Momentum Series neutral template. So large base, medium fin depth, and now it's somewhere between a pivot fin and a raked fin, and I'm looking for the best of carving and pivot, and this was my favorite fin. So guys, what I'm saying is, it really doesn't matter what fins you put in the board, template or Twin Plus trailer in this thruster setup, this board goes great, and I feel like the board's super versatile, and you can really feel the difference in each template. So let's look at some waves together. Nice first turn. Board's throwing lots of spray. This is the neutral template. You can see it's quick rail to rail. Now this little left right here, this is the pivot set. You see how fast and how tight the turning radius is. Those first two turns felt great, finishing pretty good. Now this little right, you can see the board's got that pop and projection through turns. This little left felt good, just coming in from behind. Able to have pretty good timing on my turns. And this last wave right here, nice little down carve, great flow right into a good finishing turn. Now the last thing I want to talk about is the construction. In 2 to 4 foot surf, you always ask me, EPS, PU poly. I gravitate towards the EPS, and the bulk of the review was shot on this board because I like the pop, projection, and it feels alive underfoot, and I don't have to work as hard to generate speed in smaller waves. Now I highly recommend the Little Wing for that intermediate all the way to expert level surfers. When I talk about the board being forgiving, having a generous sweet spot, so it's okay that I don't hit the sweet spot every time when I stand up, this is when you intermediate level surfers that want to go to advanced level should be listening closely here. The board's very forgiving, and I really believe that you can put it on rail. It's got that quick get up and go. It'll have that flow and make surfing a little bit more fun and easier for you. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode on the Little Wing. Special shout out thanks to Graham and Jordy Smith for sending these boards in for review. Look, if you like the show, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and give us a thumbs up if you like our content. Until next time, we'll see you in the water. Bye-bye.